Overwhelmed by the response and your presence this evening. My name is Jason Valentine. I'm the high school principal, and I didn't expect as good of a crowd as we have right now, so thank you very much for being here. I truly appreciate that. I'm hopeful that tonight will be very informative for you. This is just an overview of what is to come, okay? The reason that we needed you here is to introduce ourselves and kind of briefly introduce what we're going to go over with you in individual meetings next week at the junior high, okay? So we're going to, because of the crowd, I'm going to get started a little bit early, and then if we have to catch some folks up, we'll be glad to do so. But before I get started with the presentation itself, I'm going to introduce a few people. And first of all, I guess I should say, welcome to the seniors of 2023, okay? That's hard for me to say. That's probably harder for you to believe. You're sitting here in your first high school meeting in the spring of 2019 thinking graduation is a long time away. It is not. It'll be here before you know it. And before I start, just a show of hands, how many of you have had a high school student currently or in the past? So a lot of this information is going to be reviewed, so I hope everybody was paying attention who had their hand up, because that's the person you can ask questions to, okay? All right. I need to release some people to go and get ready for the second part of this meeting this evening. I would like to introduce some of the staff members that are here. I would like to first introduce Ms. Simmons, Assistant Principal. Ms. Soderstrom is also an assistant principal, but she was handing out folders. Ninth grade counselor, Michelle Warren. Department chairs, science, Mr. Lindeman. Math teacher, Mr. Landauer. Special ed department chair, Topaz Lerwick. Math Department Chair, Caleb Hall. CTE Department Chair, Kate Ferris. Social Studies Department Chair, Kirk Lake. English Department Chair, Brent Warren. And then also out front, I don't know if they might still be out there, we have two counseling interns, Adriana Phillips and Denise Garza. All right, so the reason they're going to help us with the sign up here in a little bit, and I really don't intend for this part of the session to be, I'm going to try to introduce some things and just give you an idea or something to think about for when we come into our individual meeting next Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday at the junior high. So with the crowd that we have, I'm not going to get into a lot of questions, but I'll encourage you to write down your questions as you come across them this evening. And then when we meet with you individually, we will have time to answer those questions. We'll also have a brief session before we do our scheduling next week. So just if you have something to write, I know you have something to write on. If you have something to write with, go ahead and just make note of your questions, and we will answer them individually when we meet with you next week, okay? The reason that you're here is we're going to start thinking about your student's high school career, okay? And then we're also going to start thinking about what are they going to do after high school. And House Bill 5, I'm not going to get into too much detail with that, but it kind of sets students up with a, you think back to college and you think they have degree plans and, you're going to major in this or you're going to minor in that. The way the House Bill 5 is designed is to kind of give high school students an idea of what their major is in high school, okay? And, the scary part of that is that they change their mind often within the same minute that they've made up their mind. There's backup plans for those sorts of things. So what they want to do next week, obviously would like for them to stay with that, but if they've had some sort of change of heart, it's not too late. All it requires is a meeting with the counselor and with you, and we can be able to make those changes. It's not overly complicated. And then, so what we're going to do tonight is I'm going to introduce to you the course book. The course book will be posted online. It's not currently. We're still making some tweaks and adjustments to it today to make sure that it's as ready as it can possibly be for you once it's released, okay? But there are 3 graduation plans in the state of Texas, okay? You have the foundation graduation plan, which is going to be 22 credits. Most students will not graduate on that plan. That's something that's a decision between the administration and the parent. Most of our students will have more credits than that. Foundation graduation plan program, that is a 4x4. And WISD, even though the state does not require it, the school district and the board has required 4x4 for our students. It's similar to a former graduation plan, but basically all that means is that your students are going to have 4 years of math, 4 years of English, 4 years of science, and 4 years of social studies. So to graduate on that program, it's 26 credits. A majority of our students will graduate with a foundation graduation program with an endorsement. And that endorsement is the major that I was talking about a while ago, if you will. And we'll get into those 5 endorsements that we offer at Wimberley High School here in just a second. That's 26 credits, and that requires Algebra 2. There's also a distinguished plan, which is that second half of that statement there. The distinguished plan, the difference between foundation with an endorsement and foundation distinguished is the presence of Algebra 2 in the student's transcript. So depending on what your students' interests are and what they're planning to pursue, many of our students graduate on the distinguished plan because I would say a very fair majority of our students have Algebra 2 before they graduate. And that presence of Algebra 2 on the transcript is what moves them from the foundation with an endorsement to foundation distinguished with an endorsement. Both of those require 26 credits. So we talked about the WISD 4x4 being 26 credits. So how are we going to get to 26 credits? You have to have 4 credits in English. You have to have 4 credits in math. Now, there's an exception to that. How many of you, well, you don't have to raise your hand, but if you're in Algebra 1 right now in the junior high, you will essentially graduate with 5 math credits in high school, okay? So when you're a senior, you're planning for your senior year, you say, well, I took Algebra 1 in the junior high, that means I have 4 credits, that means I'm good, right? No, you still have to have 4 years of math in high school, okay? So if you're in Algebra 1 right now, then you'll graduate high school with 5 math credits, okay, as a minimum. Science, you have to have 4 credits. Biology, chemistry, physics, and 1 advanced science. Social studies, 4. World geography, U.S. history, world history, government economics. You have to have 2 credits in a language other than English. So if you are in Spanish 1 right now in the junior high, and then we'll sign you up for Spanish 2 in your freshman year, and you'll have your 2 credits in a language other than English. At the high school, we also offer American Sign Language as a language option. If that's the case, then you'll sign up for ASL in your freshman year, and you'll take ASL 2 in your sophomore year, hence your 2 credits in language other than English. Or if Spanish is still what you'd decide to pursue in high school for Spanish 1, we have that option as well. So we only have the 2 language options. You have to have a PE credit, and you also have to have a fine arts credit. You can receive a fine arts credit if you have taken art at the junior high. All PE credits have to be done at the high school, but there's a very large variety of ways that you can do that, and we'll go over all that in the individual meetings. And then to have an endorsement, you have to have 4 credits in an endorsement class. And when I say endorsement, that's also a way to say elective, if you will, and we just kind of narrow your focus on those electives to where they build upon one another, hence your major. And then a couple enrichment classes. Not all of them are required by the state of Texas, but we still require them here in Wimberley. We think it's important for students to have a semester of professional communication, speech, and we also think it's important that they have a semester of health in Wimberley, also adopted by the board for all students to participate in. So let's talk about the 5 endorsements. What are the majors that are available at Wimberley High School? STEM is a popular one, and that obviously science, technology, engineering, and math. There are a lot of courses. There are a lot of programs of study, and these are in your folder if you wanted to follow along, but there are a lot of programs of study under the STEM endorsement. Next, business and industry. That's probably has the largest variety, potentially, of the endorsements that we offer. And on that sheet that's in your folder, I see this student right here has his out, has some of the more specific endorsement plans that we have, okay? Public service, That is where you get into your health science and human services. Arts and humanities, if you are a fine arts person and you want to major in the arts, we have that option available as well. And multidisciplinary. Multidisciplinary is kind of the graduation program. It requires physics, it requires algebra 2, but that's the one that you may not be completely 100% sure as to what you want to do, but you know that you're very academically driven. And if you're very academically driven and you want to just take as many science courses, or if you want to take as many math courses, or you want to take as many advanced placement courses as you possibly can, multidisciplinary is a good place for you to do that because it does not require you to take an endorsement class in the same track each year. You can take an elective, but you can take the intro level to health science 1 year, engineering 1 year, STEM 1 year, and you can just kind of get a flavor of everything that's available to you. Or you can just take as many as advanced science classes or math classes as you want as well within multidisciplinary. Under the STEM endorsement, programs of study, here are the options that we offer at Wimberley High School. In science, we have the biological sciences, chemical and physical, engineering and technology, mathematics, and all STEM students must take algebra 2, chemistry, and physics. I'm not going to read all those to you, but I'll just give you a second to look it over. Business and industry, programs of study. Public service endorsement on the top. Therapeutic, diagnostic, family and community services, and early childhood development. Arts and humanities, visual arts, performing arts, and instrumental, jazz, vocal, or theater. And then multidisciplinary, we talked about the things that are required to graduate with a multidisciplinary. If you graduate with a multidisciplinary endorsement, you are automatically a distinguished graduate because you have taken algebra 2, you've taken physics, you've taken chemistry, and probably you've taken the advanced placement version of those. All right, so I know we're moving kind of fast, and we're talking about your freshman year of high school. These are the sorts of things, though, that start in their freshman year. Your application process for your college, your GPA, everything else starts in that freshman year. So I think it's good for us to give you a little bit of information as to what's going to be required of you then to go ahead and to get into college. Obviously, a student has to be a graduate at the distinguished level for some automatic placement into a Texas public university within the top 10%. And then a student who's not eligible for automatic admission may apply to any college or university. The student completes the foundation graduation program and achieves the appropriate admission requirements, ACT, SAT, or a few other things that you would have to do in order to be accepted into that college. It doesn't prevent you from applying to any of them, but those are the sorts of things that are a minimum standard if you're interested in a 4-year college or university right after. But that's not the only option for students. There's also Austin Community College, who we partner with for our dual credit program. There are technical schools. There's lots of options for students after high school. So our job is to primarily prepare you for post-secondary achievement after high school. Let's talk about the GPA. Some students are very interested in their GPA, as all of you should be interested in making sure your GPA is as high as it can be, but some are, I want to be valedictorian, or I want to be salutatorian. And to be able to do that, there is some information on the GPA that would be important to you. The way House Bill 5 was organized, it gave the district some leniency on how you calculate GPA. It used to be that all classes counted towards your GPA, and that's no longer the case, okay? Your GPA is going to be based on 4 classes in each of the core subject areas. So in English Language Arts, your GPA is based on English 1, 2, 3, and 4. A English 1 class on grade level is a 4-point course. A pre-AP version of a class is a 5-point course, and the AP version of a class is a 6-point course. All those things are calculated into the GPA, and they are explained in the course book that will be available to you by the end of the week. So for social studies, it's world geography, U.S. history, world history, government, and economics. It looks like 5, but in your senior year, 1 semester is spent on government, the other semester is spent on politics and economics. Okay? Mathematics, Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, and then Calculus. In science, the 4 opportunities are Biology, AP Biology, AP Chemistry, and AP Physics. There are more science classes than those, in that there's no reason for you not to be able to take those. If you are really striving for GPA or really striving for valedictorian, you would be signing up for those classes, and that's probably going to be reflected in your endorsement. If you're multidisciplinary, you have room in your schedule for those classes. If you are a STEM student, you would have room for those advanced placement courses in your schedule. So if GPA is what is driving you to, and you want to graduate top in your class, those are the classes that count towards everyone's GPA. And the reason for that is that it kind of levels the playing field and keeps all the courses and allows students still to pursue whatever endorsement they want to without having to worry about GPA points. Every student is evaluated then on these GPA classes, and they're available to every student. So there's no longer do students that are driven by GPA not allowed to choose the elective classes that they want to take, which is what used to happen before House Bill 5. Grade level work versus advanced coursework. You know, I talked to you, I guess I got ahead of myself, about the point scales for the classes. A grade level course is a 4-point, a pre-AP course is a 5-point, and a advanced placement course is at 6-point. Just like at the junior high and the honors courses, the honors courses may go a little bit faster. They might go into a little bit more depth with the rigor. And there's a little bit more outside preparation time with the pre-AP and the advanced placement courses. So the good news is you've received a lot of information. You might be a little bit overwhelmed as to all the things that are available to you. For freshman year, because of the other classes that are required to complete before you can graduate, there's not a ton of choices that you have to make. The biggest choice that you'll have to make next week is which endorsement am I going to pursue. The rest of the decisions are pretty much smaller decisions, in my opinion, because every student in here is going to take English 1 next year. Your choice would be, am I going to take English 1 at grade level, or am I taking English 1 pre-AP? All students, if you're in Algebra 1 right now, you'll sign up for geometry, grade level, or pre-AP. Or if you have not taken Algebra 1, you'll sign up for Algebra 1. All students take world geography. There's no options in that. That's world geography grade level. Biology, and really the IPC, I should have taken that off. IPC is not an option for freshman students at this point in most cases. So all students will take a biology course, and it's either going to be pre-AP or grade level. The classes that have a star by them have an EOC. I know all of you know about STAR exams. We have them at high school as well. Students have to pass 5 of them. So I wanted you to at least to see which classes have a test at the end of the year. Okay, so biology has a test, Algebra 1 has a test, and English 1 has a test. The other 2 in high school are American History and English 2. So with those, there's 4 classes within your schedule already. And if you're in athletics or if you're in band, there's another additional 2 courses or an additional 1 course out of a total of 8. So we're really kind of starting to run out of choices or options, okay? Some other examples, you have to have a fine arts credit. You have to have a language other than English. You have to have professional communication, which is 1 semester. Health is another semester. And then your endorsement course. So all students will sign up for 8 classes next week. Your schedule will be filled by those options. And depending on what you've done at junior high, that's why the conversation has to be done individually. Some of you have taken Spanish at the junior high. Some of you have taken algebra. Some of you have taken art. That way we're making sure that we get everyone scheduled into the appropriate courses and we give them credit for where they have earned it, because those classes are high school credit. So we'll talk about all those things in that individual meeting. What's going to happen this summer? is we will have a fish camp in August. It's typically the Thursday before school starts. With the different calendar this year, I think school starts on a Thursday, so it may be that week of school starting. We will have to let you know. And that'll be posted on the website. I will send you an email. Hopefully everyone received my emails about this meeting. It looks like most of you did. We're here, so that's awesome. But I'll communicate with you through that email. I'll also put it on Twitter for the high school. And the Fish Camp is a good event. It's run by our student leadership, and it separates the parents from the students. Students go work with students, and then we give the parents some information about the more day-to-day routine at Wimberley High School. And your students are going to get some more information about their endorsements. We're having a meeting for them on Wednesday. We're having a CTE career day, if you will. Our current high school CTE teachers will meet with the 8th grade students. We're going to divide them up into 4 groups, and we're going to talk about the 4 endorsements that have specific course structures. We'll mention multidisciplinary, but again, the only thing that makes a student a multidisciplinary endorsement over the others is that they do not take a track of classes that are in the same field. And all they have to do is take Algebra 2 to achieve that different endorsement. So we're going to give them more information. We're going to rely on them to bring you back some information. Mr. Howard's also going to have the students work on a Map My Grad assignment sometime this week in their social studies classes. That's also going to show them what the endorsements can do for them. And it's kind of does an interest survey for the students as well, so they have an idea as whether if they don't know or not, maybe if they answer this survey, it's going to kind of tell them which direction they're at least leaning towards. So now that does not mean that's what they have to do by any stretch of the imagination, but it does give them a good starting place. The 1920 course book will be online, hopefully by the end of this week. In your folder, there is a lot of good information. There's going to be a check sheet. We would like for you to bring this with you to the meeting next week, either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. It has an example of a personal graduation plan. A lot of good information in there for you. Mainly the check sheet, because it's going to allow you to kind of visualize what you're going to need to do through this process. And the PGP is the personal graduation plan. Every one of you will have one of those filled out by the end of next week. Okay? Excuse me. All right. The part that we needed most help with in getting you here this evening is to have that personal graduation plan meeting, or to have that individualized meeting, we have to sign up for a meeting time. And we do have these, we host these meetings at the junior high because that's where your students are. We're going to pull them from class because they have a lot of input in this process. You will sign in at the front office. We're going to take you to the library. We'll have a brief meeting, and then we're just going to sit down and visit with you and talk to you about what you want to do in high school. And we'll get it all written down. One of us will sign off on it. Then you're physically going to enter your schedule into the computer, and you will already have your schedule pretty much ready to go for the 1920 school year. So it's going to be a very productive 3 days. Here in a second, we're going to go up in the cafeteria of the high school, and in there are 6 stations. There is a morning station and an afternoon station for each one of these days. So if you already know